Welcome back to TV5 News at 9. School is in session this morning. It is time for Education Matters. We are here with Dr. Craig Douglas. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you, Dr. Douglas?
I'm well, thank you. Good morning. How are you,
Good
Colette?
morning. I am doing well. We're so glad you're here, Dr. Douglas. And I love today's topic because so many people, they really don't know that this is an option, and it's very helpful. We are talking about engaging with your local school board. Now, during this pandemic, schools have had a lot of decisions regarding student safety, and the best way to get your voice heard is to get involved. So first, what are ways, Dr. Douglas, that parents can stay informed about what's going on at their child's school?
Well, in today's era, Colette, the good news is there are multiple ways to be informed and to engage. First, let me say I have so much respect for citizens who run for local boards of education. These are big commitments, Colette, and for very, very little compensation and a lot of sacrifice, these citizens step up. And now here we are in the throes of a pandemic that seems almost endless, doesn't it?
Yes.
The challenges just continue to fly at school leaders, and boards of education in many cases take the heat for calls that have to be made during this pandemic. So ways to be informed, probably the most basic way is to log into the school's website. The district websites are loaded with information, anecdotal things like news and events and upcoming sports events, et cetera, but also formal documents like budgets, minutes from school board meetings, and other requirements that are out there for all to review and see. So that's probably the most basic way to become informed and engaged. For parents, there are informal processes too. Certainly word of mouth with other parents, with teachers, with other school leaders and school employees. You stay in the loop, so to speak, just by being present, being there at the school and listening and hearing what's coming up. Certainly attending board meetings is another option, and I'd like to talk a little bit about that if that's okay, Colette.
Yeah, I love that, and let us know why it's so important for parents and all to speak up to the school board when you have information to offer, Dr. Douglas.
Well, as a school superintendent, it was my responsibility to keep the elected school board members informed. But school board members don't just receive information from the superintendent. They receive information from a wide range of resources, including state organizations like the Michigan Association of School Boards that communicates regularly with school board members so that they get a sense of what some of the statewide issues are, but certainly local citizens, residents, parents, but also non-parents, residents of the school need to have their voices heard so that board members know what the preferences are and the priorities are in the local communities.
And Dr. Douglas, you always see it during school board meetings that it's opened up for the public to comment or those in the audience to comment. So do you have any tips when communicating with the school board, how the best way to make a public comment during those meetings?
Yes, based on my years of experience of attending on average a couple board meetings a month for the better part of 2 decades. First, I really encourage people addressing the Board of Education to be prepared. I think it's okay to write out what you want to say and maybe even provide copies of the text for the secretary of the board or all board members. I don't think it has to be anything elaborate or fancy, but I think to be prepared is important because I've seen more than one person begin to address the board and maybe they get emotional or maybe they get nervous or whatever. I don't mean to be judgmental, but it's harder to stay on point if you don't have the written document in front of you. Conversely, if the nerves kick in and you've got the document to fall back on, that's a really nice preparation, advanced preparation. Second, be succinct. I think anything longer than a few minutes from the podium, it runs a risk of being gabbled down. Many boards have policies where board comments are limited to X number of minutes. In many cases, it's 5 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever. So be succinct and be respectful. I mean, sometimes people address the board and there may be emotionally attached or even upset. It's important, though, even though those emotions are real, stay respectful, because these are citizens elected to positions of responsibility, and I can't think of any case where anyone's taken office without taking it very, very seriously. I think the respect factor needs to be there, Colette.
I do. I love that. That's so important. Respect when you're talking, and you demand respect as well. You know, Dr. Douglas, as we're still in the middle of school, it's in session now, full force, and we're in this pandemic, any last minute tips that you can give us on communicating with our school or even with our students?
Well, there's one I would suggest, and that is, perhaps attending a board meeting is not an option due to work or other commitments. Certainly, communicating in writing is an option. The old-fashioned letter to the school board secretary is an option. Email to the school board secretary is an option, or to the superintendent, asking the superintendent to carry that communication to the board. So those informal processes exist too, along with attending board meetings. And in terms of talking with students, I think it's important that when controversial topics come up, whatever they are, to keep students as positive as possible and have them understand that the conflict is the topic. It's not the people involved. So many times that's hard for kids to sort out, right? If they see person A and person B debating a topic, they think it's the person versus the person, and it really isn't.
Right.
It's both people analyzing whatever the topic is.
I love it, Dr. Douglas. Once again, you've given us so much peace of mind. Thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to give viewers this valuable information, Dr. Douglas.
Take care. I appreciate you. Stay safe.
You as well, Dr. Douglas. Thank you so much. For more information about today's topic, check out the school source page at WNEM.com.